welcome everyone to my talk about community. So I'm so happy to call everyone welcome to another edition of the Beam Summit. And as probably a majority of you, me and the rest of the team would have preferred this to happen in person, to have some face-to-face interactions and maybe even some beer and pizza together. But hey, digital has some advantages as well. We are reaching a lot more people all over the world, and we are not limited by the capacity of airplanes and expensive tickets. So, I guess one could say we're finally scaling this up using proper technology. Anyway, today we'll be covering everything community in a short overview of what has been happening, how you can stay in the loop, and how you can join the amazing community of Apache Beam and friends. Let's go. So, a bit of history first. As Chris said, everything kind of started a couple of years ago, somewhere in San Francisco in March 2018, actually. There was the first contributor summit organized by Chris herself. We had, I think, about 50 attendees. It was just for one day, and I can't even recall the amount of sessions we had, but it was a lot of fun. I attended as part of a minority of non-Googlers, and if I remember correctly, Ismail, who did the keynote yesterday, and Austin, who was leading a workshop yesterday, were there as well, actually. So anyway, I was sold. I really did have a lot of fun. I was also having fun with Beam in my job. I had just organized two meetups in London, so I decided together with Chris to do something similar in Europe. In barely 6 months, we got the program together for the Beam Summit Europe. So that happened in 2018 in London, and the number of attendees climbed over 100. So uh, we also had enough content to fill 2 full days, and we could kind of feel the community was growing. So that was really nice. Not only the community was growing, actually our Beam Summit steering group was born as well, and growing. We welcomed Alex, Austin, Max, Thomas, and Joanna to the team. And during 2019, that resulted in having two full-blown Beam Summits. We had one in Berlin with a total of 28 sessions, over 8 hours of workshops, and close to 200 attendees, effectively doubling the number of attendees year over year. Meanwhile, in September of last year, we partnered with ApacheCon for a Beam Summit track in their conference. And this brings us to the 2020 edition of the Beam Summit. It is probably not what we imagined it to be, but it didn't stop us from putting a great event together. Number wise, we're still on the right track. We got over 1,200 signups from literally all over the world, but more on that later. Content wise, we got over 45 sessions for you guys, and out of which 40 normal sessions and 6 workshops, amounting to about 9 hours of hands on training, ranging from beginner topics to more advanced topics. And as I was saying, we were able to reach people on pretty much all continents. As you can see, we're still pretty popular in the United States, we are popular in Europe, and we are getting more popular in Southeast Asia as well as South America. The only continent that is left to be conquered actually is Antarctica. I did some quick number crunching yesterday, and I'm super excited to say we have over 58 countries represented on the Beam Summit this year. The 10 most popular ones I listed here, and USA is still number one, but we're working to change that. From a total of 553 different locations, the top three locations are: on number three, we have San Francisco, on number two, we have Berlin, and on number one, we have Mexico City, actually. So if we can organize physical events again next year, you might want to get your sombreros ready because we're going to Mexico. So next to the larger summit, we also have the more local events under the form of meetups. Things have not been slowing down there either. So it's time for a quick overview. It all started at the end of 2016 when Beam was at the incubation stage of the Apache Software Foundation, and talks started kind of popping up on the West Coast, Seattle and San Francisco. Then in 2017, I kind of decided to start a meetup in London. I was a young engineer back then, and I was asked to work with Beam. And since I was fresh out of school, I started the meetup with two main objectives. First of all, I wanted to learn from senior committers, ask them questions and maybe some best practices. And secondly, I was thinking if I'm learning, I might as well try and share the knowledge with make the community events. And that's kind of how the Apache Beam meetup in London was born. Throughout 2008, more events started popping up. For example, we had events in Stockholm and Los Angeles. And in the meantime, the USA has become very crowded in terms of events, and Europe doesn't even have enough space to fit all the pins. Moreover, meetups have popped up on two other continents, as I mentioned, Asia and Oceania as well. So I think that's pretty cool to see in terms of growth. Of course, when we talk about this year, there is the big elephant in the room, COVID. Despite the fact that all of a sudden all of us had to stay home, I think we were pretty good at shifting gears quite quickly. And we had a whole month of online Beam talks under the form of the Beam Learning Month just before summer. I think it's rightful to give a big shout out to Aizamal from Google there for the great work she did, having a very globally distributed audience of over 750 people. Right now, we're having a full week of amazing content here at Beam Summit, and with online tech events becoming more and more common, you can definitely look forward to more events later this year. There are, however, a few other ways to learn and stay engaged with the community. Unfortunately, we're not on TikTok yet, but as a result, we won't get banned in the US. But we do have a YouTube channel where we group all the recordings from our events. This is also the place where you will be able to find content from this Beam Summit, as a few people were asking on Twitter and Slack before. So I do encourage you to check it out. As you can do it on the URL I posted on the slides right here, which is youtube.com/c/Apache Beam YT, which stands for YouTube. It's a bit easier to remember that way. Another way to stay in the know is our Twitter handle. There's Apache Beam at Apache Beam for the project. There's at Beam Summit for the summit and community events. And we do encourage you to use hashtag Beam Summit throughout the week when you're posting something on social media. We have a LinkedIn page as well now. So if you prefer LinkedIn over Twitter as your social media, go and check it out. And as always, the best source of information is our website, where you can find information about the program, the speakers, and for today as well, the networking event in the blogging section, that is. But potentially the best way to get involved, certainly during the coming week, is through our Slack channel. So since I've been covering a lot of statistics so far, and I want to warm you guys up, especially in the western part of the world, for a second day of Beam Summit, I think it's time to make this a bit more interactive in order to wake you all up. So here's what I am going to do. I will say hi everyone in my native tongue, which is Dutch, in our Slack channel. And I hope everybody will join me onto the Slack channel and say hi everyone to your fellow attendees in your native language. You'll get bonus points for people who add the flag to of their country to the post to celebrate our geographical diversity. So in order to do this, I want all the people that are not on Slack yet to make an account first. You can do so through the first link on the slides here. So that's s.apache.org/slack-invite. And I'll give you guys a few seconds to sign up while I get my Slack ready as well. So once that is done, or in case you already had a Slack account, um, you can head to the second URL on the slide, which is d-asf.slack.com/hashtag beam-summit-attendees. I know it's a mouthful, but try to bear with me. So I'm going to switch screens now and show you my screen. Let's try that out. Um, so I hope everybody can see my screen now, which should be the Slack channel. You should see something like this. If you're not in the Beam Summit attendees channel yet, you can click the little plus right next to channels. There is a browse channels option, which will bring you to like a search area. And let's go for Beam Summit attendees. Oh, if only I could type as well. That would be brilliant. Here we go. So I'll already join, but in case you haven't joined yet, just join this channel. Here we go. It's a bit of a live demo. um, so yeah, if all goes well, you should be ending up in this channel, and I'll be saying good afternoon, everyone, in my native language, Dutch now. So here we go. Cool. So I adapted my message to the time zone I'm in. So I said, good afternoon, everybody, from Matthias from London. So yeah, I would encourage everybody to now do the same. Say hi to your fellow attendees. Bonus points for adding your flag to the post, as I'll do as well. Let's see. I'll do it later. Cool. Let's see how many flags we can get. I'll switch back to the slides to finish up my presentation while you guys say hi to everyone. Here we go. Looks like we're getting some activity, which makes me happy. In the meantime, I want to share a few other very nice stats that I was quite impressed to see when I was doing the number crunching. So the number of project contributors has increased a tenfold from 2016, from 60 people to over 650 in 2020, which I think is very impressive. Furthermore, the amount of project committers has also increased fivefold, over fivefold actually, from 12 people in 2016 to 74 in 2020. And I think we can be proud to say that Apache Beam is now part of the stack of a whole lot of different companies around the world, some of which are presenting on the summit. To name a few cool ones, I see Twitter, I see Revolut, I see Mozilla, I see Cruise, I see Spotify, but there are a lot more of them that I didn't even manage to include on the slide. And I'm really looking forward to welcoming more companies on our journey, and even more to their talks on one of our community events. So yeah, please join us. In our community, we do try to go beyond code as well. So to that end, there's multiple projects that are improving the usability of Beam and are making the barrier of entry lower. And they were kicked off in 2020 and have been happening since. So one project is focusing on monitoring our social channels in order to better listen to our user base and to our community, so we can adjust messaging and try and reach more people. We heavily invested in mentorship initiatives this year, like Google Summer of Code, Season of Docs, And over the summer, I'm to say there was that joined us working on the Beam project. Lastly, content-wise, there is and will be a big focus on developing more code, more talks, more examples, and more patterns to make the onboarding to Beam itself a bit easier. We are also increasingly recognizing non-code contributions. A few examples. I'm quite sure that in the meantime you already have met this little guy. It wasn't a huge secret, as the whole process was discussed on the mailing list, but I'm excited to announce it a bit more officially here. Beam has now a mascot. I can't wait to get a plushie in the mail. But in the meantime, I still have my gopher to hang out with. As I mentioned, there is an official Beam communication strategy being developed as well to improve our way of engaging with the users and the community. The website was migrated from Jekyll to Hugo to make contributions easier, and as a next iteration, the UI of the website will be improved as well. And as a part of our efforts to improve diversity in the community and among contributors, a localization effort is underway as well. But before we wrap this all up, I want to extend a huge thank you to the engaged members of the community who have been doing brilliant jobs on supporting the community through organizing or speaking at events, meetups, and workshops throughout the last year. Without their help, this Beam Summit wouldn't exist. In particular, I think the organizing committee deserves a shout out for quickly adapting to this new normal. You will see them throughout the event as moderators, but feel free to pop them a message on Slack or Twitter. And this whole summit, however, wouldn't have happened without the expert help of the great people at Software Guru, who have been working and actually are working relentlessly as a team of five behind the scenes. Behind the scenes. So join me in giving them a little remote applause, please. So the only thing that is left for me to say is get involved. Reach out if you're interested in organizing or giving a talk at a meetup. If you want to improve documentation, maybe write a blog post. If you're keen on mentoring a new contributor, or if you're very ambitious, even give a training. And with that, I want to thank you all for being part of this.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much, Matthias. This was a great talk, and I was actually looking at our Twitter handle and our Slack channel to see like all the interactions that we're having. It's also very nice and very cool to see how much the community has grown. So thank you very much.